What's up, guys, and welcome to the Sunday main slate edition of PlayerPool. We're looking at Week 17, coming off a massive two-game slate on Saturday. Had some big wins I'll go over with you guys in a second, but I do believe that there are a lot of good matchups on Sunday that we can exploit as well, and I'm going to get into it right after this.
The most advanced sports news and nugget aggregator has arrived. SportNuggets.com is here to help you dominate with unbeatable intel, fantasy, daily fantasy, betting, or flooding the zone with news and nuggets to crush your competition. Our cutting-edge AI delivers instant analysis on player nuggets from the most trusted sources, articles, podcasts, videos. We leave no stone unturned. We mine every word for nuggets on every player, stars, backups, even practice squad sleepers. Our smart filtering lets you cut through the deluge and zero in on specific players, teams, games, or positions. Sort by trending or injury nuggets to find leads to uncover hidden gems. Premium access to expert breakdowns, gaming tips, and analysis that turn nuggets into wins. And if we miss a nugget, our members can jump in to fill the gap. The most commented, liked, or favorited submissions get a boost in our engagement rankings, helping fellow prospectors discover the real gold. Mine the edge. Dominate the game. Join the beta now and start mining before your rivals do.
What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching PlayerPool. Going to be taking a look at the Sunday main slate, looking at a 9-game slate for Sunday. So we get a little bit of a break from the 11, plus games that we've had to deal with on these Sundays these last few weeks. And it's a very nice condensed slate because there are a bunch of games that are meaningless or pointless or don't have any fantasy relevance to it. And we have a lot of games that have playoff implications and, just good overall matchups, tight spreads, high totals, the whole thing. So we got a nice slate to break down. Before I do that, had a really big Saturday 2-game slate. And it's been interesting since the site launched, since SportNuggets.com launched. I've had 2 of these big days. One was for a 9K win back on Thanksgiving, and then I just had just won 22K on the 2-game Saturday slate. So I'm going to go into that in a second. It's really been just the blitz of information that I'm getting from SportNuggets.com. We have a site where we're, aggregating news from thousands of different feeds, mainly local sources, and we aggregate and listen to all the podcasts. We have our system listening to all these podcasts and distilling all the player mentions from these podcasts, or whatever the source is, video, podcast, social media, breaking down the mentions of these players, analyzing it, and then we add some human insights to the ones that we think are the most significant, or to the players that we like the most on a given slate, and we present it to you guys in the form of a nugget and a premium insight. And those premium insights were on fire on this Saturday slate. Had a lot of the mentions that ended up coming through, and I'm going to go over that with you guys here. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick. Make sure to hit that like button. I'm looking for 70 likes to continue on with the next show, which is going to be a game script show on Sunday night, where I'll break down the Sunday night showdown slate. I don't know what the game is. I haven't really looked at it yet. I've been focused on the Sunday slate, but I'll break that one down after the Sunday slate. But looking at the outcome of this week, basically all the picks that I made in my lineups were provided to the premium members of SportNuggets.com, the guys who signed up. We introduced an OG subscription, which is going to be a discount for the life of your subscription. And we have, premium insights, which I add to the Sport Nuggets. We have a premium Discord, which is where the articles and, the core plays and stuff like that are going for now until we get it set up on the site, likely next week. and we just have been on fire with the picks recently. And I can show you the biggest lineup. You can see had a lot of good hits today. I came in 10th place in the 40K huddle. That was a single game or single entry situation. I had the first place in the spy. I can go over that with you in a second. 91st place in the $1 million Saturday special. I had a single bullet in that one. And, let's take a look at that one first. I'll show you what my lineup was here. This is a different lineup than I won the spy with. So this one was Malik Willis. I was very high on Malik Willis. I had him all over my picks for sportnuggets.com and premium members, and basically the show that I did on the Saturday 2-game slate, I was very high on him in there as well, building lineups with Malik Willis as my quarterback. I recommended fading Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud on that slate and going with Willis instead. Derrick Henry was very high on Derrick Henry. Marion Hampton was very high on him as well. I had Flowers in there. He didn't really get there for us. Flowers was one of the guys I needed at the end of the game just to do anything to help propel me up the stands. And he just they were in the running mode at the end of that game. Jaden Reed, same situation. I was very high on Reed, but he didn't do anything. Nico Collins. Marion Gadsden was a guy that I also recommended as a core play. He ended up being the highest scoring tight end on the slate. And Christian Watson was another guy that I was high on for the showdown slate, and was recommending him in my picks this week. He ended up with 25 DraftKings points. So if you look at the first place lineup, you can see where the 2v2 switch was. This guy had Flowers as well. He had Quentin Johnson and the Texans D, basically. That was the 2v2 switch. I had the Chargers D, and then instead of Quentin Johnson, I had Reed, who ended up, just being a complete bust. If Reed had gotten a touchdown or something like that, I think that ultimately would have helped me to win first place in the the main DraftKings contest there too, and winning 250K was this person here. So very cool. Let's see if I get back to that. Let's see. We'll go back to the big one here. We check out the spy. This was a 20K win here. The only difference between this one and that last lineup I showed you basically was I had the Texans D instead of the Chargers D, and that was enough for me to ship it. Ended up actually winning by 5 points, so pretty big bump. This lineup did not use anywhere near all the salary. I think I had 2 or 3K left on the table. So just kind of goes to show with these 2-game slates, if you're putting in the guys that you like, as opposed to maybe trying to jam in as much salary as you can really kind of separate yourself from the field in this one. In this one, I had a 5-point separation from the field, and just a really good slate overall. Felt really good about it going into it. I can show you guys on sportnuggets.com with the premium insights that I put up. You can see that Christian Watson, I had him as an insight for an example, and I liked him as a captain option on Showdown, and I liked him on the main slate as well. Had Marion Hampton in here too. I liked Cameron Dicker. I liked both kickers in that first game in Showdown, but neither of them really came through. I don't think either of them ended up on the optimal lineup. Dicker was just a mess. That guy was missing kicks left and right. Malik Willis was very high on Malik Willis. There you see Kaimi Fairbairn. Derrick Henry, and Shook is from this coming week. So, got a bunch of guys in there that ended up hitting and just ended up being a big week. A lot of guys in premium were on Willis as well due to the recommendations. And Willis guy was a stud. He looked great. He looked better than Jordan Love has looked recently. But really big performance by Willis this week, and it led to a good week overall. So recommend you guys get into sportnuggets.com, sign up for the OG premium account. That's going to be a discount for the life of your subscription. And the picks have been doing well over the past month. We went premium this past week, and that's where I'm giving this opportunity to be an OG member and get a discount for the life of your subscription. So make sure to sign up there. And if you have signed up and you haven't gotten in the premium Discord yet, make sure to get in there. You can click the little Discord at the top of the screen here if you didn't enter it when you had the sign up prompt. So just make sure to get in that Discord. When you get in there, jump in the NFL channel and let me know you're in there so I can switch on premium for you if you're a premium member. So take advantage of that. Let's see. Going to go over to DraftKings next. And we will take a look at the slate for today. Let's see, going over to the lobby. So, this is going to be an interesting slate this week. Like I mentioned at the top, there are several games that stand out above the rest. There's a significant, I think, difference in the quality of these games this week as we head into week 17, and we're looking at teams that are clearly in tank mode, like the Raiders. Like the Raiders are in a situation where they just put Brock Bowers and Max Crosby on injured reserve. Max Crosby was pissed about it. Like he wasn't hurt enough to be considered injured, but apparently the team put him on injured reserve. I don't know how that process goes and how they consult these guys about getting on injured reserve, but Crosby apparently stormed out of the building because of it. And then you got Brock Bowers, who was also put on injured reserve. So clearly the team is in tank mode, and yet Ashton Genty is going to be around 50% owned on the slate this week. So to me, why, if you're going to be in tank mode, would you have your rookie running back out there and grinding him into the ground in a week 17 game that means nothing to your team if you want to get a high draft pick in the next round? It makes no sense. And I think that Ashton Genty chalk is going to be bad chalk, and I'll get into that in a second when we break down that game. But that's just kind of an example of the thought process for this week's slate of games. How I'm ultimately going to be making my core plays and my write up for the slate over in premium over on sportnuggets.com. So take advantage of that. Let's take a look at Seattle versus Carolina. That'll be the first game. Looking at a total here of 42.5 points. We got both these teams have playoff implications. Seattle's trying to hold on to the number one overall seed for the NFC, and then Carolina is fighting for first place in their division. They got Tampa Bay that they're competing with, and that's going to be a situation where Carolina basically has their fate in their own hands. They need to win this game. I'm not sure what the implications are for Week 18 when Carolina and Tampa Bay are going to face each other again. So you can kind of see, I'm going to go over to the playoff situation. Right now, you got the Seahawks, obviously, in first place in the NFC West. You got the Rams competing against the Seahawks still for first place in that NFC West. They're currently at 11-4 with their record, and the Seahawks are 12-3. You got a few 11-4 teams in here too. You got the Bears that are still contending, and you got the 49ers that are still contending for that overall first overall seed in the NFC. You can see the Panthers down here are in the hunt, and they have a 8-7 record versus the Bucks that have a 7-8 record. So the Panthers have a much more difficult matchup this week against Seattle, and the Bucks have a, not a overly difficult matchup against Miami this week with that rookie quarterback that took over for Tua. So, the Bucks could end up, if they end up winning and Panthers lose, then it's going to come down to next week for that, for the division, basically. So Panthers are in must-win mode. Bucks are in must-win mode too. Ravens just won their game. Steelers, they need to win their game against Cleveland. I believe if the Steelers win, they clinch, basically. Yeah, they're 9-6. So if they win, they'll be 10-6. Whereas the Ravens are 8-8. So they'll clinch if they beat Cleveland this week. But it's a divisional rivalry. So it's a divisional matchup there against Cleveland. Anything can happen in those divisional matchups. I say it all the time. And, usually we get some weird outcomes with these types of matchups. So should be a fun week for football fans in general. It's going to be a good week for DFS as well. But this game with Sam Darnold, I'm not really interested in either of these teams. With Seattle, we don't really have a good matchup for the passing game, with Carolina only giving up 13.7 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. And on the Carolina side, the Seahawks are only giving up 15.2 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. So a couple difficult, more difficult matchups for quarterbacks there. I think I'd give a pass to JSN though. For Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's got 1,600 yards, so he's kind of off the pace to get 2,000 yards. He was on that pace for a big part of this season, and then he kind of slowed down a little bit. But it was looking like he might get 2,000 yards, but he right now is at 1,637, so he'd need 63. So it's still possible. He could still get 180 yards. Like, they might go all out to try to get Jackson Smith and Jigba involved in this one. But they're playing for the number one seed, so they're not going to get cute with this stuff. And the Panthers on the other side, really, it's Ted McMillan from a narrative standpoint playing for the Rookie of the Year. I got a guy that I think is going to overtake him this week, maybe in that consideration. Because if you look at Ted McMillan, he's had 924 yards, 7 touchdowns off of 65 receptions. That is not that impressive for for a wide receiver, much less a Rookie of the Year candidate. And there's been a guy creeping up. He began as a starter in week 8, and he's been creeping up ever since. And now I think that his team is going to make a massive push to get him a Rookie of the Year as the Rookie of the Year candidate. So Ted McMillan, not really interested in him in this matchup. It's a difficult matchup against Seattle. They're only giving up 17.7 DraftKings points a game to the wideout position, so not really interested there. In Jigba, like I said, I'd be interested in Jigba. No one else I'm really interested in this game in general, even though the running backs for Seattle have a decent matchup going against Carolina, who's given up 27 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. Seattle's been good against the run, so I'm not really interested in any of the Seattle guys or on any of the Carolina guys. But the Seattle guys just I don't like the split there. We got Kenneth Walker gaining decent yardage points, and then we got Charbonnet coming in there and sniping all the touchdowns. So I don't like the situation there for either of these teams except maybe JSN. With Arizona versus Cincinnati, this is a game that I am interested in. We're looking at a total here 53.5, highest total on the slate. We got Cincinnati as 7-point favorites in this one, and everybody's abandoned. I think everybody has abandoned anyways. Let's see. Jacoby Brissett is at 11% owned. He's the fourth highest owned guy on the slate. Joe Burrow comes in at number 2. He's at 17%. So both these guys going to be highly owned. I do like the matchup here for the Bengals the most, because let's go over and look at the situation with the injuries on the Cardinals. We're looking at the secondary here and the defense. We got Garrett Wilson, or Garrett Williams is on IR. Catriel Clark he's out. Max Melton, questionable. Budda Baker is out. Will Johnson is questionable. Jalen Thomas is questionable. I think Will Johnson should be fine for this game, but just having him on that injury list. Joey Blount is out. We got Sean Murphy-Bunting out. All these guys, just Walter Nolan, another big one on IR. So all these guys hurt. And then you look over at their offense, they're missing their left guard. Not that they have anything to worry about with the way Cincinnati's defense is. We got Zay Jones, all these guys still on IR. Marvin Harrison Jr. is questionable. If Harrison Jr. is out, then it's all systems go here for Michael Wilson. But the problem, actually, I take that back, because the problem with the defense of the Bengals is they don't give up a lot of points to the wideout position. The DJ Turner, I believe, is the defensive guy there. Let's take a look and see the Bengals here. Yeah, DJ Turner has been shutting down all these wideouts, all these lead wideouts. So they haven't been giving up a lot of points to the wideout position. They've only been giving up, 13.1 DraftKings points a game. And they've been giving up only 4.2 to the slot as well. Where they've been vulnerable has been the running back position, where they're giving up 28.5 DraftKings points, and the tight end position, where they're giving up 23.2. I mean, they've been giving up like historic numbers to tight ends in this Cincinnati defense. And of course, we have Trey McBride, who's going to be facing off against them in a dream matchup for a tight end. So Trey McBride is going to be interesting in this matchup. He's a great run back option for us. So Trey McBride is a guy that we're going to want to consider this week. Probably in the like in the flex or something like that. We can use a 2 tight end week, unless we want to just go with Trey McBride in the tight end position. But he's basically like another wide receiver. So Trey McBride is going to be in a good spot here as a run back for Cincinnati stack. We can check and see what. Let me check and see what his ownership is. I think it's going to be pretty crazy. Let's see. Looking at the tight end position. Yeah, well, he's at 22%. Like it's not terrible for Trey McBride, but the stack in general of this game stack's going to be a popular one, which is unfortunate. But Jamar Chase, with those 2 nickelbacks that are out for Arizona, Jamar Chase runs 30% of his routes in the slot. So that's going to be like a good matchup that they'll probably try to take advantage of. So if we get Marvin Harrison out, I mean, Burrow to Chase and potentially Higgins stacks and running it back with Trey McBride is going to be definitely in play. We'll try and play around with that when we get to the lineup building process. But these guys are going to be an expensive stack though, so good matchup there for both of those teams, and high total with that 53-point total. Pittsburgh's versus Cleveland. We're looking at a total in this one of 33.5 points. We got Pittsburgh as 3.5-point favorites in this one. And we got Myles Garrett chasing the sack record, so we might get it on old man Rodgers. We can see one of those grumpy looks on Rodgers' face when he gets sacked by Garrett in this one. But it should be a fun game to watch just for that. DK Metcalf is out. We had some jackass fan that was taunting him at a game, and apparently the guy was a stalker. He had a history with DK Metcalf, and now he's caused DK Metcalf to get suspended. And you look at a press conference with this guy. The guy's just a complete freaking moron, and he just you wonder how those guys are able to get into the stadium or are able to have that kind of access to these players, and how the player gets punished when the security should have been preventing the fan from even getting anywhere near that kind of access to DK Metcalf. Then we got Calvin Austin, who's out as well for the Steelers. So I think that these two guys being out is going to open things up for Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell's at 5,600. Gainwell has been like the best receiver on the team, basically. And, we got him scoring 23.8 DraftKings points last week. The running back matchup has been good versus Cleveland recently. They've been giving up 31.6 DraftKings points a game to running backs. And if Gainwell's the best receiver on top of that on the team, Gainwell could be in a really good spot this week. Of course, we got Jaylen Warren too. Might be a good spot to play both of them again, like with Gainwell mainly, acting as a slot receiver or something like that, and then Jaylen Warren. They'd probably play a lot of double running back sets with those injuries. So don't be surprised if we see that, especially in a matchup where the most exploitable part of that defense is going to be the running back. Rushing defense. So definitely consider that there. Not really interested in anyone on the Cleveland side from that perspective. Now, Pittsburgh's been giving up 19.6 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. So you could make a case for Shadir Sanders. We haven't used him in a few weeks since that 37-point week. I tried him out again in that 6.5 week, and that obviously busted. But we might be back with an opportunity for Shadir Sanders. He's going to be looking to show. They're going to be looking maybe to showcase him and try to figure out where they want to go with him. But he's got no offensive line, and the Pittsburgh pass rush. Let's check and see if TJ Watt is back, because he had a punctured lung and he missed a couple weeks. So we can kind of check in on Pittsburgh's injury report and see where he's at. So we are missing a left guard, by the way. That's not going to help out with Pittsburgh's pass defense. Yeah, Watt is still out, and we're missing Pierre, and we're missing Brandon Eccles too. So we're missing a few different starters. We're missing a left cornerback. We're missing a nickel back. We're missing obviously TJ Watt is a big one. And we're missing a couple guys on the, the pass rush with Loudermilk and Dean Lowry. So we're banged up here on Pittsburgh, and that could help out. They're still getting a good rush on the quarterback, but that could help out, Shadir Sanders in his situation. So Shadir Sanders going to be somewhat in play this week. with Sanders, you want to stack him with Harold Fanning Jr. As far as the Pittsburgh situation, they're not missing Deshaun Elliott and Corey Trice. Or sorry, Deshaun Elliott is the free safety who's missing, but they still got Jalen Ramsey and everyone. Let's take a look over at Cleveland and see what their damage is. So Sampson is questionable. We already are missing Quickens. He fractured his leg, I believe. Fanning Jr. is questionable. We're going to want to monitor that because Njoku's already out. Let's see. Conklin is on IR. That's not good for their offensive line. And we got a few other guys on IR too. As far as the defense, few guys on IR on the defense as well, which might improve things for Aaron Rodgers. But I really think that Aaron Rodgers is probably just going to lean on those running backs. And then Cleveland is giving up only 11.8 to the tight ends. Not a great matchup there for those Pittsburgh tight ends. I think they're just going to lean on these running backs. And on the Cleveland side, Pittsburgh's been weak against tight end, giving up 15.1 DraftKings points. So that's going to set up Fanning to have a decent matchup this week. Fannin, let me check and see if we got any. We'll check over on sportnuggets.com and see if we have any good nuggets coming out on Fannin and what his status is going to be. Cleared to play despite groin injury. So it looks like we're going to get Fannin. That news came out just recently, a couple hours ago. So good news there for Fannin. If you guys wanted to use those Shadir Sanders stacks, I got a better stack for us that we can use. But that's a game where Cleveland's going to try to play spoiler to Pittsburgh, a division rival. And I say it all the time with these division games. Don't overlook these division games. Like, weird stuff happens. Like, you can't underestimate the familiarity between these teams and like what a smart offensive-minded coach can do to a team that they're familiar with, or what a smart defensive-minded coach can do to block it. But that should be an interesting situation there. With Jacksonville versus Indy, we're looking at Phillip Rivers in a do-or-die situation. I think they might be eliminated now. Let me check and see that playoff situation. Let's see. Yeah, Colts got eliminated. So I wonder what that means for Phillip Rivers, if they're going to bother running him out again. I think they've named him the starter already. Let's get an idea on Phillip Rivers this week. But let's see. Probably spelled his name wrong there. So Phillip Rivers, still set to start as of 5 hours ago. Despite the Colts missing the playoffs for the 5th straight season. I mean, it's a feel-good story. Maybe we see Rivers get a win in this final game. At the very least, he's making a stronger case for him going into the Hall of Fame. That's got pushed back 5 years, obviously, but he's making a stronger case, like having the guts to come back and play in a situation like this. But he's up against Trevor Lawrence. Now, same situation. Like, this is a divisional rivalry, so anything can happen in this game. But we're looking at a total of 47.5 points, and we got Jacksonville as 6.5-point favorites in this one. Trevor Lawrence has been playing out of his mind recently. 31 points, 47 points 19, 21, just a bunch of good weeks. That's been against Denver. He had 31 points against Denver. The Jets, like shitty defense. He had 47 points against them. Last game against Indy had 19 DraftKings points. And then he faced like Tennessee, Arizona, all these weak defenses. The Chargers was a strong one. He only had 16 DraftKings points against them. But he did have that strong performance against Denver, one of the best defenses in the league. And most of it, these points have been coming off his rushing touchdowns. He's been getting a ton of rushing touchdowns. He had 2 games with 2 rushing touchdowns this year. So Lawrence is soaking up most of the points on his team. If you look at his receivers, look at these like weak ass points from his receivers. Like his Jacoby Myers, since he joined Jacksonville, has barely cracked double-digit points. If he's done it on a few occasions, but his biggest week is 21 DraftKings points. Other than that, he's 15 points and under. He's been getting those double-digit points. I take that back. He's been getting double-digit points for a decent stretch there, but he's at 5,300. So it's not worth the price tag. With Brian Thomas Jr., same situation. Very down year for him. I was expecting big things out of him. After seeing what he did with Mac Jones last year, but with Trevor Lawrence, he just doesn't elevate these guys. 17 DraftKings points was the biggest recent week out of Brian Thomas. So this is just giving you guys an idea that Trevor Lawrence is a guy that you can run naked. You don't need to run him with anybody. Or you could run him with Parker Washington, because Parker Washington seems like the only guy that he targets, or the only guy that benefits from Trevor Lawrence. He had a 29 DraftKings point week last week against Denver, 18 in week 12, 17 in week 10. He's at 4,800. He's probably the best value out of these receivers. If we're looking at slot receivers on the matchups against Indy, slot receivers have been getting 14.1 DraftKings points a game. Let's see what I can find out here. So Colts are one of the worst teams against slot receivers. Let's see. According to Rich Rebar, 42% of the receptions they have allowed to receivers have come from the slot, 4th highest in the league. So Parker Washington, if you wanted to roll with Trevor Lawrence in this matchup and stack him with Parker Washington, I think that makes a lot of sense. Indy's also been weak against wideouts. They're giving up 21.8 DraftKings points a game to wideouts. But we've seen how Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas do. And then they're weak, giving up 24.8 DraftKings points a game to the running back position and 15.3. They're basically weak everywhere. The Indy defense has been weak everywhere. They've been giving up points left and right to these positions. So it's basically pick your poison. But it seems like his favorite target is either Parker Washington. We take a look at Brenton Strange. Strange has that same pattern as those other receivers. Really, Parker Washington's the only guy that benefits from Trevor Lawrence. If we look at Travis Etienne, Etienne could be a stacking partner for him too, just based on how he's performed. And then on top of that, we got Bajal Tootin out. So good matchup. Bajal Tootin is out. We got probably the game script set up for us. Like if you wanted to use ETN, I think that makes a lot of sense. He is 7,100 though. So I don't like that price tag on him at all. So, that could be maybe a bad chalk situation facing off against a divisional opponent. All right. So let's see how they did against each other. ETN did against Indy in that first game. 21.2 DraftKings points in that first game. So rough scene there for the Colts defense. But Philip Rivers should be a fun watch. We got 16.9 DraftKings points is what the Panther or Jaguars are giving up. Go to Philip Rivers here real quick. Philip Rivers had a great game the other night. 18 DraftKings points on that showdown slate. Downs would be the guy to stack him with, or the tight end. But I was reading the that same article I just referenced by Rich Rebar over at Sharp Football Analysis. He mentioned that the rate of shotgun snaps that Philip Rivers is taking has been a big downgrade to Tyler Warren, and it's affected him. It's impacted him negatively, having kind of a crusty old guy throwing the ball, but throwing from shotgun is a bigger downgrade. And Rivers is good to get those quick outs to Downs. They've Jacksonville's also been weak to wideouts, so Pierce would be in play too, I think. But if I was going with a guy in this matchup, it would probably be Downs. But I just think that all these guys, apart from those couple fluky touchdowns to Pierce last week, where he scored 24.6 DraftKings points, he did that on 4 targets, ended up getting 86 yards out of it. Maybe you could make a case for Pierce in this matchup, but I think Downs would be the guy that I would probably look to target if I was targeting anyone from this game, but not really interested in the game myself, even though it's got a decent total at 47.5. I mean, anything can happen with Rivers, but I'm not going to go there. I got games that I like better, and one of them is this Tampa Bay Miami game. Tampa Bay Miami, we're looking at a 45.5 point total. Tampa Bay is 5.5 point favorites. Like the coach Todd Bowles is just a disaster. They did an interview with him. I was watching the game last week because I recommended Tampa Bay last week too. And it was super frustrating because they were trying to keep that game close with the Panthers when they could have run away with it, and made it more of a like a pass heavy game, throwing the bombs to Philip Rivers and letting Rivers do his thing. Letting Evans do his thing, but they just would not throw the ball downfield. They were throwing it like dink and dunking to Mike Evans. You got one of the best contested catch guys in the league, and you're dinking and dunking it to him, and you're not using all your healthy pass catchers after they just came back from being hurt. And the reason why they gave that they focus more on the run game, even the run game was clearly not working, and the Panthers are clearly we're in that game to win it. The excuse from the coach was that they ran it X amount of times last year and they won from it. So they thought that by running the same amount of times against the Panthers in that game that they would win the game. It was the same formula. So as opposed to using those healthy pass catchers, they went with the stupid, let's just run it, even though the run isn't effective. Let's not adjust. Let's just stick with the run. And eventually, it'll crack the defense, which it didn't. They ended up losing that game, and now they got their season on the line in this game. They have to win this game, basically. So, very stupid decision-making. Todd Bowles' decision-making cost me $118K last year, too, when he decided to go for like an extra point tie against Kansas City at the end of regulation and take them into overtime. Why the hell would you ever take Kansas City into overtime when you have an opportunity to end the game right there with a 2-point conversion? It makes no sense. And, it's this typical stupid decision-making by this team, and, just absolutely ridiculous. But I do like Mayfield in this game. this matchup against Miami. They're giving up 19.6 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. And Miami's got a pretty good spot here too, with Tampa Bay giving up 26.2 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. I think we got to check and see if Jamel Dean is in. When he's back or when he's playing, they're a much stronger defense. And he missed several games. But, we saw Bryce Young take him apart last week and win that game. Tristan Wirfs is out. That's going to suck for Baker. Yeah, Jamel Dean is in. He's not hurt. Let's see if we got any other damage to this defense. McCollum is on IR. So they're missing their right cornerback. So, it's a situation with the Bucs where they're potentially vulnerable to quarterbacks. One of the worst defenses in the league against the pass, and if Ewers is able to keep this game somewhat competitive, then the Baker stacks should go off. I'm guessing that all the heat that they got this past week from not passing the ball, I'm sure ownership was all over Todd Bowles and that game plan. And I'm sure that, this week with the playoffs on the line, they're just going to trust where they're the strongest, and that's in their passing game. And so we got Baker Mayfield, we got Mike Evans in a matchup against the Dolphins, where the Dolphins are giving up, 19.3 DraftKings points a game to the wideout position. But with Mike Evans, he can beat any matchup, and you give him a middling matchup like this, he's still gonna do well with it. We got Chris Godwin. Godwin's been getting a decent amount of targets recently. We might have to go over and look at the snap counts for these guys. Let's go ahead and take a look for Tampa. We got 56% for Igbuka. We got 66 for Evans. We got 25 for Tez Johnson, 64 for Godwin, and 53 for Jalen McMillan. So all these guys relatively even with the split here. And keep in mind, this was with a run-heavy game plan. So maybe if they're doing more passing in this one, maybe we'll see more 3-wide sets, and that's when we'll get bigger snap counts from some of these guys like Evans and Godwin and stuff. But Evans and Godwin, somewhat clear wide receiver 1 and 2 there. So Godwin and Evans could be a good double stack. I don't think that they're going to be highly owned, and this game is their season on the line. You just got to trust that Bowles isn't going to be making those decisions again, or letting the offensive coordinator make this decision again, or whatever their game plan was. Whoever came up with it, just they're going to be under a lot of heat this week, especially if they try to do the same stuff again with a healthy set of receivers. So with the tight end position, looking at the matchup here with the Tampa Bay defense, they've been giving up 18.6 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So that's a great matchup for Darren Waller, who's already been like their touchdown guy. But he did well with Tua. It remains to be seen how he would do with Ewers last week. With Ewer, he had 7 DraftKings points. The previous week he had 25, and I actually was winning another showdown, winning 10K in another showdown before Darren Waller got that second touchdown. The first touchdown put me in first place in that contest, and then he got that second touchdown with a couple minutes left in the game, and that took me out of winning that showdown. So Darren Waller is going to be in play. Cade Otton is also in play. He could be one of the stacking partners with Baker. Tampa Bay getting 20.8 DraftKings points a game from that Miami defense in the tight end position. So keep that in mind with Otton. And other than that, not really interested in too much else from this game. Not really interested. Oh, you know what? I take that back. Obviously, we're interested in Devin Achane. Achane last week, 18 DraftKings points, only 3 targets from the quarterback, 15 rush attempts, 81 yards, and a touchdown. So yeah, Devin Achane is going to be in play for us this week against Tampa Bay, who's given up 24 DraftKings points a game. They're more vulnerable against pass catching backs, and that's perfect for Achane. With New England versus the Jets, we got this situation. Another division opponent, so weird stuff can happen again, but I don't think that the Jets are going to be going out of their way in this one. It's a 42.5 point total with New England as 12.5 point favorites. Unless it's like one of those weird games where they treat it like their Super Bowl, I don't think the Jets are going to put up much of a fight in this one. The situation to exploit here is going to be Stephon Diggs, who is in a matchup. We got Kayshon Boutte, who is out. We'll take a look at those injuries real quick. So looking over at New England at the injury situation, Kayshon Boutte is out. And again, with that Rich Rebar article, when Kayshon Boutte is out, like Stephon Diggs has gotten 80+% snap share. And when he gets 80+, every time he's had 80+, he's basically got 100 yards. That was a nice, juicy nugget from Sharp Football Analysis, Rich Rebar. And so Boutte is going to be interesting. On top of that, their defense is banged up. We're missing Tonga. We're missing Milton Williams. We're missing Spillane. And we're missing Harold Landry. So their run defense is going to be like garbage this week. And that's going to make things interesting for Breece Hall. Breece Hall will be another overlooked guy on the slate. So if the Jets decide to make this game competitive or to put in an effort in this game, then Breece Hall, we could see him kind of rise from the dead. He's done nothing these past few weeks. Maybe they'll decide to actually give him good opportunities this week. He's had 16, 12, and 14 touches. Not great for him. Let's take a look over at the timeshare over here for running backs on the Jets. I'm going to get an idea what that Jet timeshare is and why we're seeing Breece Hall not perform well. So Isaiah Davis has been eating into his load with 36% snap count versus 64 for Breece. So you see that like kind of a trend those last 2 weeks. But prior to that, you saw 76, 88, 71, 72, 71. And then obviously we've seen Isaiah Davis eating into that. So interesting situation there with Breece Hall. I do think that, I think that they would go all out to try to spoil things for the Patriots, trying to get that number 1 overall seed. So don't be surprised if we see Breece Hall have a decent game against this banged up Patriots run defense. The Patriots have been giving up 22.7 DraftKings points a game to the run already, and now they're missing like their entire run defense. On the other side, we're looking at Travion Henderson, 6,400. He was in a timeshare with Stevenson last week, and we can take a look at that too while we're doing this. Looking at the New England Patriots, we saw, Travion last week had only 19% snap count. I believe he got hurt in the middle of that game. 84% for Ramondre Stevenson. And if we're looking at I don't see any injury designation on Travion Henderson this week. So, they probably just felt that they didn't need to put him back in the game last week against Baltimore. But Stevenson did a great job covering after Henderson was out. He ended up with 17.8 DraftKings points. So decent game by Stevenson last week. I would guess that it goes back to the old split, and we see Travion Henderson in an exploitable matchup this week. And he's not going to be owned either. He's going to be, let's see, get an idea of Travion Henderson's ownership. We are looking at, like less than 5%. So Travion Henderson, if we're looking for Ashton Genty pivot, Travion Henderson could be that spot there. Let's see. Other than that, Henderson and Diggs would be the guys that I'm interested in this matchup. The Patriots, they've been vulnerable really only to the running back, and then they got those injuries to the running back. So that's really the only interest that I would have in this game. Breece Hall on the other side, along with Diggs and Henderson. All right, so moving on to the next game, we got New Orleans versus Tennessee. This is one of my preferred games on the slate. This game, we have a 38.5 point total with the Saints as 3-point favorites. I've got a theory that I laid out to my premium members on the Shuck situation. I do like Shuck this week against the Titans. Similar situation, actually, now that I'm looking at it, like that we had with Shadir Sanders versus Cam Ward a couple weeks ago. We got, rookie quarterbacks battling each other, but they would love to show up Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. But interesting spot here for Shuck. He's been on fire recently, too. He's cheap, 5,200. He's not going to draw a ton of ownership in this one. And stacking partners, we got obviously Olave. We're missing Vele. Vele's out, and we saw with Olave last week, he ended up getting 16 targets. So he's been getting a lot of targets recently. So I do like Olave this week. And his other target has been Juwan Johnson, basically. And they have a shower narrative, used to be roommates with Shuck. And, he's that showering has paid off for him. He had 9 targets last week. He had 9 targets in week 13, 7 in week 12. And he's just been one of his favorite targets. So, smart move there by Juwan Johnson. And with the other side, I mean, there's really no one on Tennessee except for maybe DK, who is at 4,100 now. That would be interesting against this Saints defense. Saints have had a pretty good defense, vulnerable to the running back position, middling to the running back position, I should say. And that would be Pollard, who he's had a couple decent weeks recently. So if you're looking for a run back, you could consider Pollard if you wanted to stack this game. Let's go on to the Giants and Raiders. Like I said, like at the top, I think Genty is going to be bad chalk this week. And I think that's because the Raiders are phoning it in already. They've put Max Crosby and Brock Bowers on injured reserve. So, they really have nothing to play for. So why are they going to risk Genty if they're putting all these other guys on injured reserve? Last thing that they want is for him to tear his ACL in the last one of the last games of the season. The Giants, on the other hand, had Jackson Dart in tears at the end of the last game. Only 1 DraftKings point for him. And I think with Jackson Dart, they might want to do something to build up his emotional state a little bit more from what their game plan was last week. And if they do that, we're looking at a 41.5 point total on this one. And I think the guys that have the best matchup are going to be obviously Ashton Genty, but I've already gone over him and why I think that might be a trap. And we got the Giants running backs. I believe it's Tyron Tracy still. Tracy and Singletary. What's Singletary been doing? He got 11 carries last week. Tracy ended up with 16 carries last week. So Tracy's getting the majority of the haul there. 24 DraftKings points in week 15. Singletary hasn't had any big games since week 13. So I would look towards Tracy if I wanted to exploit this Raiders matchup and get that 25.8 DraftKings points that they're allowing to the running back position. They're also allowing 22 DraftKings points to wideouts. So, that could put Slayton in play for us. But Slayton, obviously last week didn't do much. I just don't see any need to go to this game, but it's there. The matchup is there if you want it. Slayton's an option, and that would probably, the wideout for the Raiders, Tucker, I believe, is the main guy now. He's got a good matchup with the Giants giving up 21.6 DraftKings points a game to wideouts. So, Genty with a clear good matchup, but kind of trappy. And I just get nervous about that spot. And otherwise, not really too much interesting unless you need a cheap flyer on a guy like Slayton or Tucker, both of which are under 4K. Buffalo versus Philly. It looks like this game's going to have a lot of rain. So I think Roth was saying basically torrential downpours during this game. So, that could take some of the appeal off of it. Let me see what the ownership here is. We got Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, both under like 3%. Looking at the running back situation, Barkley and Cook are both also pretty low owned, and these are good matchups for running backs. Let's see. 44.5 point total on this one with Buffalo as 2.5 point favorites. The running backs have the best matchups with the Eagles giving up 24.7 and the Buffalo Bills giving up 28 DraftKings points. So, interesting situation there for the running backs in a game where it's going to be a torrential downpour. I do like both of those running backs in this one. I don't know that I'd want to go to these quarterbacks. I don't like these rain games, especially when it's pouring rain. I don't like the low scores in these games, but the running backs could be interesting, or they could stack the box against them, and this could be a complete dud of a game. Even though it looks on paper like it would be like a super high scoring game between two rushing quarterbacks, a lot of fantasy goodness, but it looks like it's not going to be necessarily the case, depending on the weather situation. So let's go ahead and start building a lineup. I'm going to use that expensive one first. Let's go with Cincy versus Arizona. I think this is going to be a popular game to stack. Burrow, let's get him in there. Let's get in Chase. And let's get in Higgins. Let's double stack him. Going to run it back with Trent. And now we got to look at our running back situation here. Going to take a look at the entire slate, see if we can find some value. Let me check something real quick. I think I think this is probably why they're stacking Genty, or why they're using Genty, because Genty's pretty cheap. But let's put Gainwell in this lineup. He's at 5,600. Let's get a cheap defense in there right off the bat. Let's go with the Browns against the Steelers. How did they do against the Steelers in that last game they played? 0 points. Let's see what else we got here. We got trying to find a cheap team. I'd like let's put the Giants in there. We know that Vegas is tanking, so it could be interesting play. Let's go with Travion Henderson. Leaves us with 3,200 per guy. That's not terrible. So if we're down to 3,200 per guy, let's see who can get in the cheap seats here. First, let's look at a tight end to see if we can get a tight end in that flex spot and give us some more salary saving. Let's see. Darnell Washington could be interesting. Let's put Otten in there. It's already talked about. I like his matchup. You know, they might use Jonnu Smith with the damage to the slot receivers too. Let's go with Jonnu. And that's going to leave us with 3,900. That leaves us with options like Slayton, who I talked about, Tucker, who's in a good matchup, but we don't like those Vegas guys. And, Jalen McMillan, another option. So we got, decent amount of options in this range. If we wanted to go down from the Giants, let's go with the Panthers, because we've seen Darnold kind of collapse in some of these games with the high pressure. That would put us in 4,700 territory. We could put Rashid Shaheed in there. Josh Downs, Cameron DK. We did another 100 to get to Washington, so we could go down from the Panthers to the Jets. I mean, it's ugly, but it gives us an option at least. 6,400 on Travion Henderson. Let's see what else we can get. Freaking. This is why the Genty thing is going to be popular. He's super cheap. That leaves us with defense. We got Cardinals. At least gives us better options. So we eat the chalk here. Chalky all around. This is going to be a popular build. Burrow chalk. We got Genty chalk. We got Chase chalk. We got McBride chalk. The difference here is we're going with this Jonnu Smith in the flex position, like thinking that the Steelers missing their starting slot receiver and DK Metcalf, they're going to have to rely on some of these pass catchers. And Jonnu is a pass catching tight end, so could be interesting for Jonnu Smith this week. So let's clear that out. Let's do another one. I'm gonna do. Let's see. Let's do Tennessee and New Orleans. Gonna go with Shuck. Gonna stack him with Olave. Give him Johnson. Taking a look at these running backs. Let's go with Cook. Actually, let's go with Brown. Brown's in a good spot, and if everybody's stacking the passing game there, we want to go with the run. And let's go with Gainwell again. And at least this is 5K per guy. Let's go with our defense here. I'm going to go here with let's go with the Jags. No, let's go with the Pittsburgh D here. So we got Gainwell in the correlation with the D. 5,700 per guy. Looking at wide outs. Let's go with let's fade that Cincy game altogether if we're not going to be starting anyone or stacking that game. Let's go with Diggs. I mentioned how I liked him. 5,600 per guy. Let's go with let's see. I don't know how Jacoby Myers. Oh, Jacksonville. That makes sense. I'm gonna go with Jackson Smith and Jig. We'll see what that does for me. It might not be possible. 2,700. No, it's still possible. That way, I can get Jonnu in there again. Or we could take the Steelers D out here and go with we try the Panthers D again. No, we get Smith and Jigba. We can go with maybe the Browns D. It's tough for defenses this week. I don't like any of those matchups. It leaves us with 3,500. Jalen McMillan. We want to get a run back though. So DK would be interesting. You know what? Let's get rid of I like Gainwell. But let's get rid of Gainwell. And let's put in Pollard instead as our potential run back here. It leaves us with 3,600. Pretty sure we saw somebody at 3,600 a few minutes ago. McMillan. Just a few interesting options down there. But have to play around with that build a little bit more. I think that's about it. So make sure to hit that like button, and I will. I'll do something for the game script show tomorrow night. Let's see. I'll try to figure something out. But get me to 70 likes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Get me to 2,600 subscribers, and I am about, probably about 80 away from there. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure also to subscribe over on sportnuggets.com. Take advantage of that OG membership. Like I'm saying, like my gameplay has been much better over the last month or so, just being flooded with this news and, following these along with these nuggets and just kind of trying to familiarize myself with all this information that's coming in. It's all coming in from local sources who know their teams the best. You want to take advantage of that. We're distilling all the information into easy to digest nuggets, and it's helping you guys out with your research when you got like these last minute scratches from these games with these last minute inactives and stuff like that. It's a really good tool for looking up the backups and finding information out about the backups. So, just a really good tool overall. And then on top of that, you got the premium content, obviously, that I offer over on sportnuggets.com. We're going to have an article section right now, like I said, if you sign up for premium, hit me up in the Discord. If first of all, make sure to sign up for the Discord. When you do the sign up sheet, they have a prompt to get you in the Discord. Make sure to do that. If you didn't do that, go up here to the Discord, sign up, and just jump in. Hit me up in Discord. Let me know what your email is, and I just confirm you're a premium member and let you into the premium section. So make sure to get that done if you are a premium member, and if you sign up for it, make sure to hit me up as well and get you guys in that premium Discord. Like I said, like just the picks were off the charts this week. I did a write-up for it too. Let me show you if you find that write-up. So here's an example of the articles I'm writing up. I had fade on Justin Herbert, fade on CJ Stroud. I had start on Omarion Hampton, start on Nico Collins, start on Randy Gadsden, and the showdown bonus for that particular game. I liked the kickers. That didn't work out, but I had start on Malik Willis, start on Derrick Henry, and I had start on Jaden Reed. But I mentioned in the Nuggets section that I liked Christian Watson as a double stack partner with Jaden Reed as well. So in the Nuggets, over on the insights, we had that over here as one of the insights that the stack Christian Watson along with Reed on these on this slate. So definitely like those double stacks. Good overall day for the Saturday 2-game slate. Let's keep it going on Sunday. Hit that like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe at sportnuggets.com. Take advantage of that OG membership, and I'll see you guys for the Showdown show.